Hello, welcome to Holistically Speaking. I'm your host, Morella Devost. I'm a little confused by the cameras today, so excuse me. Our mission with Holistically Speaking is to be the avenue through which the voices of holistic health reach you at the times you need it most. Over the last year, we've been bringing different practitioners, different topics that might interest you. We've had a few shows recently on cancer. We've also had shows on migraines and allergies, and we've had chiropractors and acupuncturists. And I would love to hear from you what is something that interests you, maybe a topic regarding your health or a different practitioner that you'd like to have us on the show. Or maybe you know of someone who would be wonderful on our show, and I would love to get that from you. So you can always write me at holisticallyspeakingtv@gmail.com, and that email is always at the end of the show on our blue screen. So today, actually, I was getting ready to have a guest with me, and he unfortunately had to cancel just a couple days ago, and because he got sick. And so I tried looking for somebody else to come and do the show today, and I wasn't able to find anybody. And I thought, well, what would be a good topic to share with you today? And given the fact that my guest got sick and obviously we're headed into flu season, I thought it would be a great time to do a show on boosting immunity, how to boost your immune system naturally. It's something that I think I've gotten really good at. I never get the flu shot. It's not something that I do for myself, and this show isn't really going to be about the flu shot, whether you should get it or not, but really about how do you get your immune system into a place of real strength, where you have a really robust immune system that can work through the bugs and the flus that are flying around. I actually personally notice when I get some sort of bug from somebody else who might be sick, maybe they have the flu. I notice maybe some raspiness in my voice, or maybe my throat starts to get sore, or I might start to feel like something might be, I might be coming down with something, but I actually never developed a full-on sickness. I was just telling my chiropractor about that this week, where on Monday I felt like I had a little something maybe, but I went to bed and the next day I was fine. So she was saying, yes, exactly, your immune system is catching this virus, this bug, whatever it is that's coming into my body, and it's actually doing its job really well. So staying healthy isn't that you're never going to catch a bug, it's that it doesn't wipe you out. And so my goal today is to help with you some of the things that I do for myself and that I help my clients incorporate into their lifestyles, so that you too can get your immune system to that really strong, healthy place. And so one of the things that I often think about, where my mindset of giving my immune system a workout came from, was when I was almost a teenager. I was about 12 years old. I actually got rubella. And I don't even know how I got it. I don't know any of my friends had it. But I got rubella. And my best friend at that time, her parents were doctors, and they sent her to spend the weekend with me, sleep in the same bed over the weekend, because they wanted her to be exposed to it and hopefully get it. And so I thought that was kind of interesting that my friend was, coming to have a little rubella party with me. And actually, we played all weekend and I was doing quite all right. It was such a non-event. I just had like this thing on my skin, but it was really a non-event. I wasn't even significantly ill. And my friend actually didn't end up getting rubella. So that was the first kind of event in my life. And then a couple years later, I actually got the chicken pox. There was a baby around who had the chicken pox, and my mother actually brought me to play with the baby, have my little chicken pox party with the baby, and I did get chicken pox, and it was pretty intense. And so I realized that there was some sort of benefit in giving my body the opportunity to work through these illnesses and work through them in childhood, when the infection and the disease itself is going to be less severe. And when I was thinking about that this morning as I was getting ready for the show, I thought, how can I present this to my viewers? And I thought about my workouts this year. This year, I started doing CrossFit, and I started lifting weights like I had never done before. And when I first started, I remember the very first day I did a deadlift. The max I could lift was 105 pounds, which is a little less than my body weight. And that felt like a lot. So since then, that was about March, since then I've been working out 4 or 5 times a week, lifting lots of weight, getting stronger and stronger, and now my max, it's about 138, 140 pounds, which is more than my body weight. And so if I had tried to lift 140 pounds the very first day, I would have probably injured myself. I probably wouldn't even have been able to move it. But if I had lifted it, I don't know, maybe I would have herniated my back. So my point with this whole body weight thing and my weightlifting is that the immune system works exactly the same way. When we get a little cold, when we get the flu, when we get a little infection, instead of thinking about it as a catastrophe that is to be avoided, and then here's my philosophy, to avoid it even by getting vaccinations, well, actually, that little flu, that little cold is like a workout. It's like me working out all of these months, lifting weights, so that, when things like H1N1, the swine flu, the whatever flu comes around, well, my immune system has been getting little workouts, so it's more likely to be able to deal with that heavyweight virus or that heavyweight bug, like my 140 pounds. So I hope you're getting my little analogy there. So giving your immune system a workout is not such a bad thing. But let's start looking at what are the things that actually depress our immune system that are very common in our lifestyle, our modern lifestyle. The first one is lack of sleep and chronic stress. We're definitely not getting quality sleep. We're chronically stressed, and that stress state is essentially a survival place where you're essentially in that place to fight for your life, because you're under, your life is in threat of, you're under threat of death. And so that's really what the nervous system is doing when you're under stress. So obviously, if you get a little cold or a little bug, that's not really the time to heal when you're under stress. So you need to manage your stress, be able to rest, take breaks, get good quality sleep. That's certainly a foundational building block of a strong immune system. The other thing that doesn't help your immune system is the standard American diet, where the majority of the foods are breads, cereal, pizza, pasta, lots of starches, and then lots of meat, animal products, meat, chicken, eggs, ham, bacon, cheese, lots of milk. So each one of those food groups is perfect, but it's what you're missing that can start to create an issue for your immune system. And you're missing lots of color if you're just eating white foods and meats. You're missing all the greens, the purples, the oranges, all of the antioxidants in nature that are incredible immune boosters. So the standard American diet, stress, lack of sleep, and then alcohol and sugar are well known to depress your immune system. They start to affect your intestinal tract. They kind of feed the not so great bacteria in your gut, and they actually don't help the healthy bacteria in your gut to thrive. So alcohol and sugar are immune system depressors. And then the other thing that in our modern lifestyle that has actually not given us the opportunity to give our immune system that workout that I was describing is our obsession with antibacterial things, the antibacterial soap and the antibacterial everything in the house, and then also the improper use of antibiotics. Anytime we take an antibiotic for an infection, it's also going to kill the intestinal flora, the healthy bacteria in your gut. And that bacteria is where your immune system starts. So anytime you take an antibiotic, it's going to affect that intestinal bacteria, and it's going to weaken your immune system. So we're going crazy with the antibacterial stuff. We've taken antibiotics maybe way more than we needed. And so all of that contributes to weakening your body's strength to lift that heavy weight when an invader comes in. And then there's the topic of vaccinations. Some people question whether we just have over-vaccinated ourselves. I'm hoping to do a show specifically on vaccinations because that's just not what I do. I focus on what can we do naturally. So maybe we'll have that show in the future for you. So let's recap that. And Anju, if you can show that slide where I have a summary of all these different things in our modern lifestyle. So we have stress, chronic stress, alcohol and sugar, depress the immune system, constant use or frequent use of antibiotics, our antibacterial obsession, and then maybe too many vaccinations can be affecting our immune system. And things like the flu vaccine, the question there is, are you giving your body the opportunity to have a really healthy workout? So that's as far as the things that depress our immune system. So let's switch gears and talk about some of the foods or the tools that will help you strengthen your immune system. So the very first thing that I want to focus on is actually one of the reasons why we associate the winter with flu season, and we call it flu season, is the fact that we are missing vitamin D, especially in the winter. Why? Because we're not out in the sun as we would be in the summer. There's less sunlight, obviously, and we're either indoors or when we are outside, we're actually, covered in sleeves and, head to toe. So our body doesn't get the opportunity to synthesize vitamin D through the skin. And in fact, in Vermont, if you watched our show with Dr. Bill Warnock, a naturopath, he says that he finds that everybody in Vermont needs to supplement with vitamin D because we simply don't get the sun exposure that we need in order to maintain optimal levels of vitamin D throughout the year. And even when we do go out in the sun during the summer, we're putting the sunscreen on, and the sunscreen actually interferes with that synthesis of vitamin D on your skin. So many professionals are saying that those of us who live at this latitude are chronically deficient in vitamin D, and we need to supplement because there are no real robust food sources of vitamin D. We typically would get it from the sun. So we need to supplement vitamin D. And the ideal thing to do with vitamin D is actually to get your levels tested. You want to know how deficient you are, and the ideal range for vitamin D is upwards of 50 nanograms per milliliter of blood. Between 50 and 70 is what they consider the ideal range. And then when you know what your range is, you can work with your doctor to see how much you need to supplement in order to get up there. And then you would test 3 months later and see where your vitamin D levels are at. As a general rule of thumb, it's roughly about 35 international units of vitamin D3 per pound of body weight. So you can do the math and take your body weight, multiply that by 35, and that's roughly what an adult your size would need. So for me, it's around 4,000 and 5,000 international units for my body. And I do that throughout the winter and even into the spring. Sometimes if I'm not getting enough sun during the summer, I still supplement with vitamin D. And so vitamin D is this extraordinary vitamin that affects at least 200 genes, if not more. And so the complexity in the way that vitamin D boosts your immune system is beyond anything that I think we're really aware of now, but it affects 200 different genes, and so the pathways in which it boosts your white cells and killer cells, and boosts the health of your intestines and your skin is just beyond something we can get into right now. So vitamin D is the very first one. The second thing that we absolutely need in order to have a strong immune system is strong intestinal flora. So, how I was talking about antibiotics killing off some of that intestinal flora. Well, our diet that's high in sugar and bread and pastas and candy and fried foods does not boost your intestinal flora health. What your little critters, your little friendly bacteria thrive on is fiber, lots of fiber, pigments and complex sugars from nature, from things like mushrooms and apple pectin. And so when you eat lots of fruits and vegetables, part of the reason why it's so healthy is that it helps to boost your intestinal bacteria, that really important ecosystem in your intestines. So when you think about, well, how do I boost my intestinal health and that friendly bacteria? How do you strengthen that in your body? The core foundational food of intestinal flora health is fermented foods. And if you look at ancestral foods, every population, every civilization has some sort of indigenous fermented foods, and we've kind of gotten away from that. So things like raw sauerkraut and fermenting your pickles, making fermented fruit sauces like fermented applesauce, making yogurt, your own yogurt raw at home, or kefir. All of these fermented foods have some of that live, healthy bacteria that's going to repopulate your intestines, your intestinal tract. So that's why you might be hearing about Activia, or you remember as a kid hearing that yogurt was good for your digestion. And so the great thing about yogurt is that it has these live bacteria, but when you pasteurize any food, you're going to be killing off some of that bacteria. So if you can make your own yogurt at home, it's going to be a much more alive, robust food than the pasteurized yogurt that you get from the grocery store. But you can find raw sauerkraut at the grocery store and maybe have a little bit of that sauerkraut with your meals, and that's going to be a really healthy food. Kombucha is also a fermented tea drink that can help with the intestinal flora. And then, of course, you can take a supplement. There's lots of different probiotics out in supplement form, and what's great is to, if you're going to take a probiotic, is to rotate them, because they're all going to have different bacteria, different concentrations, and we have hundreds of thousands of bacteria in our intestinal tract. So you can rotate around the different probiotics, and if you've ever taken a course of antibiotics, taking a probiotic is probably a good idea. So we've got vitamin D, we've got fermented foods and probiotics, and those two are, for me, the cornerstones of a strong immune system. And I think what I haven't mentioned is that the reason why it's so important to have a healthy intestinal tract for your immune system is that all of those friendly bacteria, they're your first line of defense in your immune system. Any foreign invader, if you think about any bug or bacteria that you breathe in, it's also going to land in your mouth, and it's going to start going down your digestive tract. And so that kind of swallowing that bug is going to, the healthy bacteria in your intestinal tract is where they're the first ones who are going to encounter it. And they're either going to fight it directly, or they're going to help to inform, educate the rest of your immune system what it is that you've actually gotten and how it is that you need to fight it. So those little critters, that's your front line in your army and your immune system. So vitamin D, probiotics, or fermented foods. Then the third one would be vitamin C, which of course you know. Vitamin C helps to, it protects cells from damage, and keeping your cells healthy is definitely a key way in which your immune system keeps you strong, especially when not so much when we're talking about viruses and bugs, but especially from a cancer protective point of view. Antioxidants like vitamin C help to keep those cells intact and not degenerate and not shift into damaged cells. But vitamin C also helps to increase the production of white blood cells, which are critical for fighting bugs and bacteria that may come at you during flu season. So a lot of times when you think about vitamin C, you think, well, I'll just take my vitamin C pill. And that, taking a supplement is definitely helpful. But what we do know about vitamin C and many other antioxidants and nutrients is that we actually don't absorb them and utilize them as effectively as when they're coming in through foods in their natural interaction, the natural chemistry. Let's say if you have an orange and you eat an orange, the vitamin C from that orange is going to be a lot more protective and a lot more effective than your ascorbic acid vitamin C in a pill. And so there's a complexity in the chemistry of nature that there's something in the way that vitamin C is coming in, wrapped in that orange pigment or whatever it is, that our body decodes and unlocks much better and then utilizes much better. So vitamin C sources of foods, of course, you have oranges, but actually green vegetables like kale and spinach and collard are phenomenal sources of vitamin C. Bell peppers are also an incredible source of vitamin C, and lemon. So just adding a fresh squeeze of lemon into your water is a great way to boost a little bit of your vitamin C throughout the winter. So actually, I really enjoy drinking hot water and lemon during the winter because it's just so soothing and comforting, and it's also great to it supports your digestion in a really wonderful way. Then we have vitamin E, which is not often mentioned with regards to boosting your immune system, but actually vitamin E boosts the production of killer cells, which are another form of immune cell in your bloodstream. And vitamin E, the best sources of vitamin E are nuts, seeds, actually sunflower seeds, for example, and also greens, spinach, chard, almonds. So adding more of those foods into your diet is going to be a great way to boost your immune system. And then one of my favorites that I always think as a quintessential food for immunity and fighting things inside your body is garlic. Garlic and onions. To me, garlic is like a king. Antibacterial food. It's also anti-yeast. It does incredible things for boosting that health of your intestinal flora. There's some great fibers in garlic and onions that actually help to feed your healthy bacteria and actually kill unhealthy critters in your belly. But garlic also stimulates the multiplication of your white blood cells and killer cells, and it increases antibody production. So adding garlic into your meals, sometimes I've heard of people making garlic tea, so you steep some garlic in water if you're feeling you're coming down with something, and it's this natural antibiotic. So adding lots of garlic and onions into your foods. So let's recap all of these. I've got a slide where I've summarized these. So Anju, if you can bring that up. Thank you. So immune system boosters, like I mentioned, vitamin D is the number one. You want to supplement throughout the winter. Take vitamin D3, 35 international units per pound of body weight. So you have to do the math for your body weight. And importantly, the best thing to do is to have your vitamin D levels checked and work with your doctor to see how much you should be taking, and then test again to see where your levels are at. Taking probiotics through fermented foods like sauerkraut, yogurt, kefir, kimchi, fermented pickles, especially if they're things that are not pasteurized, that maybe you made at home, or taking a probiotic supplement. And then in the next slide, we have another one that has, thank you, vitamin C from green vegetables like spinach and kale, peppers. Strawberries are also very high in vitamin C, lemons, and then vitamin E, like I mentioned, sunflower seeds, almonds, spinach, chard. So think about adding lots of those colorful vegetables and fruit and garlic and onions into your diet, making lots of veggie dishes and stews. This is the season for stews, so add kale and spinach and chard and peppers and sweet potatoes and all of those rich colors into your stews. And lots of garlic and onions, of course, and all of that is going to be an immune system food. And so I also have another screenshot for you that has some superfoods. So these are foods that, you know, we might not consume them in big amounts, but they're almost like herbal tonics that help to boost your immune system. Mushrooms like reishi mushrooms, cordyceps, and chaga. These are mushrooms that you can find in supplement form, and you can also find them in teas, and they are well known to be incredible immune boosters. Then herbs like holy basil and ashwagandha. These are actually herbs that are adaptogenic herbs that help to curb the stress in your body and bring your nervous system out of that stressed fight or flight response and more into a relaxed and healing place. So those herbs can help your immune system by helping you manage your stress. And then herbs like astragalus, echinacea, and ginseng are well-known herbs for boosting your immune system overall. Astragalus is especially well known for being like a lung tonic. And so you can think of, you know, maybe buying these herbs in bulk and making your own tea, or getting those teas and drinking them throughout the winter. And then turmeric is the orange spice in curry that is a very potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory herb. And so by taking it, it's just going to boost your immune system overall. It's going to keep inflammation levels down, keep your cells healthy, and it's also going to kind of kick up your immune system strength. So there you have it. You have a bunch of different foods that can boost your immune system strength, a bunch of different herbs and superfoods that will kind of fire up your immune system. So again, taking vitamin D throughout the winter, taking a probiotic or adding fermented foods regularly to your meals, using lots of the deep colors in vegetables and fruits and the deep pigments in nature, the greens, oranges, yellows, and kale and spinach and chard and peppers and sweet potatoes and turmeric. That's where you're going to get your natural vitamin C and vitamin E, adding nuts and almonds to your meals, and maybe taking some of those superfoods, the echinacea, even before you need it, the mushrooms and ginseng and all of that. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that you've taken away a couple tidbits that you'll incorporate and stay healthy. Let your immune system get a little bit of a workout this winter so that when something bigger comes around, you'll be able to tackle it. Thank you for joining me, and see you next week.